Just a brief moment to mention that this video is of course sponsored by Outplayed. This is a new app or recent app that is now being used by many people across the world for their gaming recordings. Now, not just to record and then edit and upload like you would normally do if you were a YouTuber, a Twitch streamer, or just in general using it as a hobby, but this is something that will capture your favorite moments automatically depending on the game. It will actually track what you're doing. So it will notice if you get headshots, kills, wins, losses, or deaths, and it will actually automatically capture those moments so you can save them in a folder for later. Upload it straight to YouTube, Twitter, Discord, including individual specific channels for your convenience. Get the app today with a link down below and start recording your clips. Welcome back everyone. Today is a brand new video to kind of update on 2022 about how light and heavy attack weaving actually works and how you can achieve it as a new player or experienced player if you are unsure. So light attack weaving is basically when you put a light attack between skills. Heavy attack weaving is exactly the same, except instead of a light attack, it's a heavy attack. Now, the reason we do this is because every single skill has a 1 second global cooldown. So if I was to cast a skill right now, I can't cast it any faster than that. But the animation isn't necessarily part of the activation of the skill. That's just something to look shiny. Because this ability is actually an insta-cast ability, the second I cast it, even if the animation is still ongoing, it has already applied. So while it is animated, or while that period of time between the two skills is present, the 1 second gap, you can't cast another skill, so you can fit in a light attack. Now, light attacks, generally speaking, have a 700 millisecond cooldown between those, which is slightly different from the skill, but not much. Now, that does vary, obviously, depending on the weapon type, because obviously you have to consider travel and all that kind of stuff. But in general, it's 1 second either side. So 1 second for the skill, 1 second for the light attack. So you weave them in between. So instead of spamming this skill and you can't make it any faster, you weave in a light attack every cast. So that way the time is still there, but you actually do some more damage in between. Now, the same applies to a heavy attack, of course, but that is stretched out. Now, each weapon does have a different timer for a heavy attack. They do channel at higher or lesser time rates, but they are still the same when it comes to applying skills. You can't fire a heavy attack faster than the heavy attack that's already firing. You can't fire a skill faster than the skill's already firing. So putting them together is the trick. So we're going to show you the light attack stuff first of all, as far as weaving them is concerned with insta-cast abilities and channel abilities, so you can get that rhythm in place. Then I'm going to show you a very easy way to apply heavy attack rotations or heavy attacks in your rotation and never fail perfect timing for your skills. So the light attack weaving is probably the most trickiest, because if you do fire a light attack, you are going to benefit from several different things. Your weapon passives, your weapon glyphs, your ultimate regen, all of those things come into play from a simple light attack. But you need to make sure that instead of just doing this and seeing a full light attack and a full skill cast and being really slow about it, which is of course where you start, you want to make sure that you can somewhat animation cancel them. Now, when I said earlier about a skill is already decided, it's already cast as soon as you press the button, the animation is just fluff. So you can cast the light attack while the animation is running. That may be a little confusing.
784.9 DPS.
Thank you very much. That's a new feature, by the way. There's voice over in the game that will tell you words, basically. So anything that comes up in the chat will be said out loud. So even if you hit a target dummy, it'll tell you out loud. Anyway, moving on. So basically, what you need to do is consider firing your light attack as soon as your skill is done. And it's done as soon as you press that. Not when his hands touch, but as soon as you've pressed it. So as soon as you've pressed that button, light attack straight away, if you can. However, what I tend to teach people is do it the other way around. So light attack first, skill second, have a slight pause. Light attack first, skill second, have a slight pause. The reason you have a slight pause is because you don't want to interrupt anything too much, and it will make things really tricky. And what you'll end up doing is you'll end up spamming abilities and no light attacks will come out. Or you'll end up spamming light attacks and no abilities will come out, and it'll look really funky like this. You don't want to do that. So if you light, skill, stop. Light, skill, stop. Like this, and wait. And if you time it properly, so you go light, skill, stop, light, skill, stop, light, skill, stop, light, skill, stop. Now listen very carefully to the rhythm of that. It's 1, 2, stop, 1, 2, stop, 1, 2, stop. If you do it any faster than that, you'll fail. If you do it any slower than that, obviously you'll lack a little bit of DPS because you're not as efficient as you could be. And on a dummy, it obviously looks like this. Even though that's a casted skill that doesn't do any damage. Now, Wall of Elements is on my bar, as you can see there. Running out Magicka because we're not using any proper food for any of this kind of stuff. If you cast any other insta-cast ability, it works exactly the same. Whether that be Vigor, Crush and Shock, Wall of Elements, Damage Shield. It's the same rhythm all the time. Light hits, break. Light hit, break. Light hit, break. Any skill you like will do that. So it doesn't matter whether it's a dual wield skill, a class ability, a two-handed skill, a one-hand and shield skill. It doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter what weapon you're holding. The rhythm is the same. If on the skill, read very carefully at the top here, just under the title, it says instant.
2711.6 DPS, 27s, target skeleton, humanoid.
Whatever. If it says instant, that method will apply. It doesn't matter what it is. And we can even show you this with other skills as well. We can go into the assault skill line. We can put on Vigor. It doesn't matter which version we've got because it's an insta-cast ability. So if we were to light attack Vigor, same timing. Light take Wall of Elements. Light take Vigor. Light take Wall of Elements. Light take Shield. Light take Vigor. You get the idea. Light hit. Light hit. Light hit. Light hit break. Light hit break. Light hit break. Now, what do you do with channeled abilities? Well, that depends on the channel. So if the channel is under 1 second channel time, you can do exactly the same rhythm because your timing will be the same. Light hit, wait, light hit, wait, light hit, wait. Your 1 second global cooldown is already applied by default. So Crystal Frags, shut up. Crystal Frags does have two different variants to it. You've got the basic cast, which is a 0.8 channel, and then you've got the insta cast, which is a proc that can happen, which will be instant. So your insta cast is already applied there, which is easy, and your channel is already going to fit. So as you can see here, light attack hit, light hit, light hit. Even though the animation is running, the channel time does what it's supposed to do. You can't fail it. Keep the same rhythm, don't let the visual confuse you, and you will always get it on time. While it's channeled and the other is instant, they still follow the same pattern. 1 second gap between skills, but we've got a 0.2 second delay anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect it. Now, when you've got longer channels, like Jesus Beams, for example, which are about 1.8, that is going to get annoying. Helpful, of course, but it's going to get annoying. You do have a longer channel, and you have to basically time it a little bit better. So what you just do is you just count 2 seconds and fire, 2 seconds and fire. If you do that, the light attack will fire. If you don't, then you'll just recast the skill again. That is something that will take a little bit more practice, because you don't want to constantly spam skills. You got to get those weaves in between. Your light attack or your heavy attack is more important than your skill because of the weight it carries. It allows free DPS. It doesn't cost resources. It allows glyphs and bonuses and buffs to apply. You must get this out before this. It's nice and simple. Now, when it comes to heavy attack channeling, this is something that is even easier. So if you are using a heavy attack build, or you just want to utilize a heavy attack during mechanics, then what you need to do is make sure that you obviously still apply your skills on time. Well, instead of this rhythm here, instead of that, it's slightly different. In fact, it's 10 times easier. Hold heavy attack, and it will pop. That is a channel. Now, if you hold heavy attack, and then wait for it to finish, you will get the full damage of the heavy attack, but then you'll have a slight gap with no damage. You won't be heavy attacking, you'll be trying to apply a skill, there will be a few millisecond issues there, there will be a gap. But, I'm going to let her finish talking. If you apply a skill during a heavy attack, it will queue it up. So what you do is you hold heavy attack, don't let go, do not let go, and you press a skill in the middle of it and just wait while holding on to heavy attack. So here's an example of that. If I heavy attack and hit Vigor, watch the bar. You will see that I have pressed the skill during the heavy attack and I don't let go of my button. It's pressed and it does it for me. Now if I just keep holding heavy attack, it will constantly heavy. You don't have to do anything complicated, you don't have to do any timing. Now if I cast Wall of Elements during the middle of the next one, already done now, it will fire for me. Now I'm going to do the same with the damage shield halfway through. After this next heavy, I've already hit it. It queues it up. You can't fail it. So if you were to do a heavy attack rotation, for example, and you decided that that part of your rotation was heavy attack, wall of elements, heavy attack, wall of elements, and so on and so forth, all you would do is keep hold of that button and press wall of elements in between every single heavy attack, and it will fire on perfect global cooldown timing. So for those of you using anything that relies on heavy attacks, whether it be for sustainability or damage output, all you have to do is queue it up. It's slow as hell in terms of how much you have to think. You really don't have to overcomplicate it, but it is effective as hell because it's perfect timing that you will never, ever fail. You don't need any trackers or anything like that to try and keep on top of it. You don't need any extra mini games or add-ons to try and confuse yourself over something that is so basic. But it is very, very effective if you get it right.
DPS, 57s, target skeleton.
That voiceover thing is such a cool feature, but she's getting on my nerves. Right. Now, channeled abilities like Dawnbreaker have a 0.4 second channel timer. So you could argue that yes, much like Crystal Frags, because it's under a second, you can light hit break, light hit break, light hit break. You can do that. But this one locks you out of bar swaps. So what you need to do is obviously apply this in a time that you're not going to try to bar swap. Because if you do try to bar swap, or you do try to block, or you try to get a bit flashy, this will lock you out from that during its channel. And some people try to be too fast. Too fast will not give you results. There are rules to global cooldowns. You can't cheat them. So the trick is to get the timing right. Now, with this particular skill, yes, you can light attack, fire the skill, light attack, fire another skill. Much like this. As you can see, it just slotted in there absolutely perfect with no issues whatsoever. But what about if we don't have the whole one bar stuff? And what about if we do need to swap bars? Well, the Dawnbreaker won't allow you to swap bars if you've already cast it. But if you put it in the right place, you actually can. So you never put Dawnbreaker or anything like that, even in cap for the Nightblade, as your last ability before you swap. You will light attack, use the skill, light attack, use something else and swap. Nice and simple. But this is what it will do. So you will do this. I can't swap until now I can. It's a long, long delay. It will put you out of combat. It's not going to help. So, nice and simple. Instead, you light Dawnbreaker, light skill, swap bars. That alleviates any issue. Your timing is exactly the same. The skill is applied exactly the same as every other instacast ability. But instead of having that lockout when you swap bars, you cast another skill after Dawnbreaker to fill the gap, allowing you to freely swap bars and not have any negative effects. So again, light skill, break. 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 If it's a heavy attack, hold on to it, queue it up, done. Queue it up, done. And same with Crystal Frags as well, queue it up. It's already fired. It's already fired again. Heavy, channeled, heavy, it's already done. You just cast it during the heavy. You'll never fail it. And yes, that applies to other things. Now, we're going to have to wait until the combat is finished, obviously, before we swap weapons. And you're going to hear the annoying voiceover again, telling you what your DPS was on this, well, it's not even a build.
Result, 2,317.8 DPS.
Thank you very much.
Target skeleton, humanoid.
Now, let's swap this out to other abilities that are ground cast first before we go to sword and board. So, we've got volley here, which is also very, very simple. It does follow the same rules. Now, while it may visually look different to other skills, it is not. Read this, look at the top, instant. So the second you've cast that, it's already done. It is done. So instead of confusing yourself with the visual animation you're looking at, just know that in code, this has been already understood as a cast skill. So once you've placed it, you can light attack almost instantly and get onto the next skill. So if it was as simple as this, light attack cast, light attack cast, light attack cast, light attack cast, light attack cast again, light attack cast again. You see the difference? It's exactly the same. Yes, it looks more complicated, but the skill is still applied exactly the same as every other insta-cast. And one more very important thing to note about this, and we're going to go into sword and board, obviously, because tanks get really confused about this one, and this one's really, really helpful. So, we're going to put sword and board on. If you are your sword and board tank, then you would have been in situations before where you would have had to heavy attack. Heavy attack gets your resources back. It's very, very handy. So you need to make sure you can maintain one of these. But it's such a long, drawn-out heavy that you might find yourself in a situation where, of course, you are now weaker because you're not blocking. Don't worry. The heavy attack doesn't last as long as the animation. Much like the heavy attack from the lightning staff or any other weapon, you can queue up a skill and the game will finish your heavy attack for you on perfect timing and apply the skill after. So if you are tanking, for example, and you need to squeeze in a heavy attack to get your resources back, or you want a heavy attack to get resources back and then be able to negate the cost of your taunt afterwards, you can do so. Don't heavy attack fully and then stab afterwards like that. That's long, delayed, and you will get caught in some mechanics. Look for your character. When he glows green, that is when you've got your resources back. And that happens before the final swing is completely finished. But how do you make it perfect so that never happens again? Hold heavy attack, queue up your skill. And you'll see it will cut it short. The animation is longer than the heavy. Every time I glow green, I've got resources back. As you can see, it's flawless versus this. This is long. Half of that is animation, not actual application. Hold heavy, queue it up. As soon as it's hit, you can block again. Heavy, queue it up, block as soon as you see it. Now you're back in action. Or you could do this, which is fail, and then do that. It's so much longer. You will find that the heavy attack is actually less than 2 seconds, whereas the animation is really, really long. So get some practice in with that, and that will make a big, big difference. Not just for DPSs, but also for healers and for tanks as well. Every single weapon can light attack and then cast a skill afterwards. Every single weapon can heavy attack and queue up a skill afterwards. You just need to know the difference between the two, and you need to be able to understand that the game reads the skill before the animation is over if it is an insta-cast ability. So again, when it comes to light attacks, we're going to have to use taunt here because we don't have much else that we can spam. But basically, light, skill, stop. Light, skill, stop. If you go too fast, you will not get better results. Don't listen to people trying to tell you need to be much, much faster. There is a very specific timing to it. So listen again. You'll hear the rhythm here, much like playing the drums. It's click, click, stop, click, click, stop. 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. If you can hear that light attack, or if that light attack applies, you are doing it correctly. If it doesn't apply, you're going too fast. The most important 2 things about that is your light attack connecting and you being patient enough to have that break. If you do that, you'll be absolutely fine. And this will help towards 1-bar builds, 2-bar builds, absolutely anything. If you're DPS, healer, or tank, it doesn't matter. This will apply in all gameplay and all weapon types. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Hopefully that kind of alleviates some of the problems people are having with DPS and also with tanking as well, because people heavy for too long and don't block enough. There's lots of different situations where you can apply this and it will make you a better player. But understanding the timing and getting that rhythm in is the trickiest part. Don't overwhelm yourself with add-ons and complications that will try and teach you how to get things perfect. The best way to learn is muscle memory. And if you get the rhythm right, you can do it with every single skill and every single weapon in the game. So, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that was somewhat insightful. If you're not subscribing already, obviously please do hit that button. It is free. And furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com. I live stream every night on Twitch, apart from Wednesday nights from 10 PM UK time. Obviously this week has been different because I've gone through surgery, but I'll be back very, very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.